We have with us today Shehzadi Nighat Abdi. She's the daughter of His Highness Nawab Murtaza Ali Khan of Rampur and the granddaughter of His Highness Nawab Raza Ali Khan of Rampur. And she is a person who has kept the tradition of Rampur cuisine alive. And she is, in fact, a repository of the culinary traditions of Rampur in many ways. Today, we are here in a private apartment and we'll be talking about Rampur cuisines and all the dishes that are now forgotten and that used to be cooked by the Rampur Khan Samas. So, I would first begin by asking you, um, you how can you distinguish the idea of Rampur cuisine, or what is the significant thing about Rampur cuisine?
Well, let me say I'm very happy that you are discussing about the cuisines and the forgotten cuisines of Rampur, because this cuisine is now not commonly cooked. And the people that cook it, they've made so many shortcuts that it doesn't taste like the original food. So I decided that everyone says that whenever you have a party, you always serve Rampur cuisine. And I do it deliberately because if I don't keep up the tradition, it'll be completely forgotten. So I decided that I always need to cook all the dishes of Rampur so that it still remains alive. And people really appreciate it because you can get Chinese cuisine or Italian cuisine everywhere. But the original Rampur cuisine, I'm sorry, I have to say, it's only at my place.
That's wonderful. So, what is the one thing that distinguishes Rampur cuisine, let us say, from Awadh cuisine and Mughal cuisine, or how did it come about? How did we have this Rampur cuisine and its evolution?
Actually, when at the downfall of the Awadh Empire and the Mughal Empire, the cooks needed some royal patronage. So they found Rampur, the haven, and we gave them refuge. And they started cooking in Rampur. So it's actually a blend between the Lucknow cuisine, the Awadh cuisine, and the Delhi Darbar cuisine. So, and then it was refined and improved upon in Rampur. So that's why it has dishes from the Delhi Darbar and the Awadh Darbar.
Correct. So there are so many dishes that
Are common,
are common to both.
both,
Right?
but uh, ours tastes a little different because we made a few changes. But yes, it's available, but the ones in Rampur are slightly different.
Yes. So when we begin by discussing about the Kalias and the kormas that Rampur cuisine is famous for.
Yeah. So Kalia is usually, we use haldi, that's turmeric. And in the kormas, we use more dhania. I mean, this is putting it very broadly, but that is the actual difference. But then every dish is cooked differently. If you say the recipe sounds so easy, but actually it was a very painstaking task. There were about one senior cook and about 5, 6 junior cooks just to make one dish. So if someone was chopping the ingredients and someone was someone was pisoing the so it was all in stages. It wasn't just all put into the dish. Every stage was different. So that's why it tastes different.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there was somebody who was making masala.
Massage. Then there was someone just cutting the onions and browning the onions, and it was all done separately. And then it was put together.
Right.
And
And in a similar way, we have different styles of Kalia.
Kalia. So, like, I'll be talking about this Kundan Kalia. Now, in Kundan Kalia, you have all the masalas, as I was saying, and you add chicken and the mutton. So that
Chicken
and mutton. So the chicken was cooked separately, the mutton was cooked separately, and then they were put together. And then a little stock was put into it, and a little color. So it was like a lightish brown color,
It was a thin gravy.
and it was a thinner gravy.
This is something that we've just heard about and we've never had.
No, I was lucky. I got a chance to, yeah. But like I've told it to you in a very simple fashion. But there used to be a lot more. Everything was puno separate. It was a process, you know. But this is just to tell you that this is what the dish eventually looked like. And Kalia was practically the same, but the gravy was a bit thicker. And they used koftas, meat koftas, that is the minced balls, and they would boil the eggs and remove the yolk and would add it to that so that it was a bit colorful. So it was very different, and it tasted differently when the koftas are put in. Then my all-time favorite was Mirch Kalia. Mirch Kalia is with green chilies. So the same meat, Kalia, but the chilies were fried. And then they were introduced to the meat dish, and in the dum, it would be cooked. And it really, you never thought it had so many chilies. I mean, that was how they cooked it. You didn't feel that you were having a very spicy dish, because I'm not fond of spicy food. But it was very interesting to eat. And it wasn't that heavy. It didn't have so many masalas. So it was a nice change.
So, do you think that Rampur cuisine has more of the basic masalas rather than too much of aromatics or?
There was this Kyora pot, but it wasn't heavily scented, not at all. It had a light flavor, but it wasn't. Yeah, you could taste the masalas more than but it did have a bit, yeah. And saffron was always introduced, but it never was really, except in the sweet dishes and in the pulavs, there the saffron was more, you could taste them more. But then in these other dishes, sometimes dry fruit was introduced. There was meats with dry fruit, especially apricots and other various dry fruits. So there were so many dishes, because we had about 100 cooks, and in about 20-25 cooks per item, means for rice, for kebabs, for kalia, for sweet dishes. There were so many cooks.
So today Rampur is known for tar gosh. So what exactly is tar gosh or tar kormas?
Yeah, we all love that dish. And in fact, that dish has now become so common that there's no walima in Rampur whether it's rich or poor, he has to have tar gosht.
Yes.
So it's become one of the most popular and the most known dish is tar gosht. This is basically the meat is cooked like a korma, but the difference is they introduce the yakhni, the gutti ki yakhni. That is the yakhni, the stock of the, and this is cooked for many hours.
There used to be one shabdeg also, and I've heard that Rampuri shabdeg was very different.
Yeah.
Awadhi shabdeg.
No, usually I think this was more of a Kashmiri dish.
Okay.
And they still, it's cooked there, but they cook it with shalgam and that is turnips and meat. Our shabdeg was with shalgam and koftas.
With kofta.
Yeah. And this was even a long process. It was cooked overnight. And it used to take a long time to make shabde.
That's why it's called shabdi.
Yeah, it was cooked through the night. That's how it's. Now, another very interesting dish is paya. This is from the bones are cooked for about 10-12 hours till it leaves a gelatine sort of a look. So I remember when I broke my ankle, the doctor recommended, he said, why don't you have this pie? And it really was a good remedy also. So you keep cooking this meat with a lot of masalas introduced to it, or if you don't want to use the masala, you can just make till the gelatine you can see. So this is very tasty. Everyone loves it, but it's also good. It's good for your bones.
I think it's also given after the delivery of a child. I remember that.
Probably, yeah, I'm sure.
Yes, because of the calcium.
Calcium and all, but especially if you have problems with your bones, it's it's very healing. Khase ka khana was the food that was served to the actual family and the friends that were invited. So that used to be about 30-40 dishes at any given time.
Oh God.
And about 5-6 desserts.
Oh.
And though my grandfather Nawab Razari Khan was a very frugal eater, but it gave him immense pleasure to feed people. That was his passion. And that's why this cuisine flourished. And then my mother, Begum Aftab Zamani, she kept a very good table. And I think me and my brother Nawab Muhammad Ali Khan, he also keeps a splendid table. Dampot was chicken stuffed with dry fruits. Then they would have partridges or quails. And sometimes they would introduce a little mutton pieces. But it was usually a chicken and quail dish. And it was cooked in yakhni and a lot of dry fruits. Now, like I say, that the cuisine is from both the darbar. So I think dry fruits must have come from the Delhi darbar because all the dry fruits must have come from Afghanistan and Iran. That's why the dry fruits were introduced because I don't think it was otherwise so commonly cooked. But with all these cuisines, this dry fruit was introduced.
If you look at the yakhni pulao, there's a special pulao that is the do gosh ka pulao. What is exactly the do gosh?
Do gosh again is the yakhni pulao, and it had meat. And the only difference is that koftas were introduced. So there was koftas and meat. Again in a yakhni pulao. So mutanjan, as it was made in Rampur, was again sweet rice, and then koftas were made, and those were even dipped in shira. And it had a sweet and a bit of lemon, so it was sweet sour dessert. This was a dessert.
It was a dessert, but
Yeah.
with meat in it.
But with these koftas. But they were also dipped in the shira.
So they had a sweet taste.
A sweet taste, and it was a bit of salt even. It had to be rice that was at least 7 or 8 years old so that it could absorb the 4 times sugar.
Right,
But that is not, if you, every rice cannot absorb it. That was even an art which is unknown now. They would cook it in the shira, then they would cook the meat separately, and that was also dipped in shira, and then it was introduced to this rice.
Yeah, so the sweet rice preparations were all made from high matured rice.
Very matured rice. As you know, otherwise, 4 times to absorb 4 times the sugar is not possible.
Now you don't have such.
No. And I don't think anyone would want to eat that kind of. in those days, people, but you didn't eat it on a daily basis. So, and people were, their lifestyle was different. They would move around, exercise more, walk around. So probably they could digest that kind of food.
So even today we do have safeda and motia, that is the sweet rice.
Yeah, but that is not this rich. No, not just. Nobody would now eat 4 times the um, sugar content.
Correct, correct. And since we are talking about the sweet dishes, can we talk about other sweet dishes that are particular in Rampur?
Yeah, there was the piste ki darbesh and badam, but they were flaky uh, sweets cut in like square pieces and very difficult to make. It was this flaky uh, con- uh, consistency throughout the whole piece of darbesh was quite difficult to cook. And that art is totally forgotten. I don't think anyone can make. No, darbesh is, I don't think so. How I have so many more dessert recipes because there was a cook called London Mia. And my mother had to bribe him by saying that I don't want to learn it, but me, Nugget Baby, wants to learn it. And because I was the daughter of the household, he decided that, okay, I'll teach her some dishes. So my mother was quite at a distance and she would quietly write the recipe. But I was meant to be seeing it, what was being cooked. So, yeah, that was. So I got a lot of those old dessert recipes.
Written by your mother.
Written by my mother, and we actually saw it being cooked. Otherwise, the other cook in Rampur was cooked in the kitchen, so we didn't know what was and how it was prepared. But I was fortunate to see some of the desserts being cooked.
So Laddan Khansama was supposed to be the master of sweet dishes.
Well, one of the, yes, there were many others, but he was the one that I got to meet. And in fact, he didn't even teach his daughter how to cook. I think she was just taught 3 or 4 things. They were very jealous about their recipes. They didn't even want to share. That's why these recipes are forgotten, because the cooks would not teach anyone. I mean, they would do something, they would make every massage do a different part of the cuisine that she doesn't learn. So nobody knew actually how finally a dish got together, because everyone was doing a different job. And he would eventually put it together. So that's why it's unknown. I mean, it's
And
lost.
what about their children? They never took up the profession.
They weren't taught.
They were taught it.
They weren't taught. An interesting dish was nane badam. It was like a flat bread. It had a bit of khoya, a lot of powdered almonds, and it had the juice of oranges. So that made it sweet as well as with the taste of oranges. So it was called nane badam. A lot of badam was the powdered badam and the shira and the juice of orange. Loas is actually, it's a diamond shape like a barfi. But these were all made out of, again, the loze badam was full of badam. Loze pista was with pista. And of course, I'm telling you it a very simple way, but these were really difficult to cook. And you had to have experts to cook these dishes, these two, loze jahangir and loze badam. And loze jahangir was, of course, named after the Emperor Jahangir. So I am just telling you these dishes that it makes it sound so easy, but the preparations were so long and so tedious that is why it's a forgotten cuisine, because it was very tedious.
And the halwas, like Rampur has the tradition of amazing halwas.
Yeah, the common ones that and which are very uncommon otherwise, is seb ka halwa, adrak ka halwa, ande ka halwa. These are which are not the general. You hear about gajar ka halwa, you hear about rave ka halwa, but Rampur was known for its ande ka halwa, seb ka halwa, and adrak ka halwa. These were really popular, and they were very, I mean, very rare to Rampur, these halwa.
And this, of course, the sohan halwa that we have now.
Yeah, now the sohan halwa again was prepared and a very lengthy preparation, and that was again with a lot of dry fruits were introduced. In fact, I visited the Middle East, and there I saw this sohan halwa. We have it a bit thicker and a little more ghee. Theirs was the same way they had made it, but it was lighter. We use asli ghee, so it makes it a bit heavy.
But it was called sohan halwa?
Yeah. In Iran, it's still called sohan halwa. Yeah.
So amazing.
So amazing that, these recipes, I mean, recipes actually need no boundary. Food doesn't need boundaries.
Correct.
I mean, so it just travels. With travelers bring it, or like if you go abroad, you take your dishes. So food really has no boundary. And the last pulao was again, pineapples were stewed, and then they were cooked in shira, and again the rice was cooked 4 times, and this pineapple was again dipped in shira, and eventually it was all poured into the rice, and then it was cooked in the rice. So it had the flavor of pineapple. So that's why.
So many sweet dishes, and whereas now we don't know these dishes, but we do cook the sivai, kimami sivai. So in Rampur,
Yeah. In Rampur, we only cooked sivais with, again, originally 4 times the sugar, but now nobody. And this is, every household has to cook it, because when the Eid is celebrated, this is an essential part of the celebration. That if guests come, you serve them sivai. My favorite out of all these sweet dishes was a dish called tunki namish. Namish is this froth of the milk, which is kept overnight in the dew. And so it's a nice frothy sweet. And it was served in Rampur with tunki. Tunki is like a thin biscuit. And what I enjoyed, it wasn't very sweet, because it's the frothy milk. And it was very light to eat, and it was very interesting to eat. My favorite all time.
Again, this is something you don't find in Rampur at all now.
Really, but namish you can get in Lucknow, because I've eaten it.
Is there.
Yeah, they don't know what tunki is. But yes, namish is very common in Lucknow. You can still, it's available.
Kebabs and keema that you have in Rampur, what is the different about?
Well, we have the nargisi koftas. Those can be either served dry or with a little gravy. Now, nargisi kofta means the koftas are divided and they introduce eggs. So that's why it's called nargisi, boiled eggs. And of course, again, it's a korma. It's not a kalia, it's a korma. And then you have the nargisi seer. That means it's on a skewer with meat, with this keema and eggs, and keema and eggs. And then it's put on the
Like a
skewer.
seekh kebab.
Like a seekh kebab.
With eggs also.
Yeah.
in it.
And it's cooked over, So that is like a seekh kebab. Then we had the ran kebab. Ran kebab is the whole leg of the thing. You could have a plain ran kebab, or it could be stuffed with eggs and dry fruit, or sometimes we would stuff it with keema. So it was many ways of stuffing the ran kebabs. It was a whole
barbecued on coals.
on coal, yeah. It was put on a fork like uh,
Contraption.
contraption, and then it was put. It was like a bed, and you place the ran, and then it was cooked on slow fire.
Okay, that again so interesting.
Yeah.
It's something that we don't have anymore.
No, we all still cook the
I mean,
ran.
like, of course, at your place, you have a lot of.
Yeah, I think naan kebabs. Now people, to simplify it, don't cook it on coal. They'll take the ran and put it in the oven. But then it doesn't taste the same. Whatever this cooking over the fire, then you keep pouring ghee on it. So that's it takes very long, but it's very interesting. A very interesting dish was the pindli ka gosht. That is the part the pindlis are cooked in a white korma.
Okay, that's the calves must.
Yes, and it is cooked in white masala. That means no dhania and no haldi. It's lasan, adrak, and dahi. So it's a white korma. And just 10 minutes before the dish is ready, they add the juliens of adrak. So in the steam it cooks and it has a very light flavor. And it's a dish that you can even uh, uh, serve to people who are unwell because it is very light. And the masalas are not so heavy. There are no chilies. And it's cooked in the yakhni of the chicken, but it has very little masala.
So you sometimes make it with chicken, or you can make it with the calf meat.
No, the original was pindli gosht. But today, because you can't find pindli and all, it's too much of an effort. So now we make it with chicken. But the original dish was pindli ka gosht. What Rampur was known for. This is a substitute. Chicken is a substitute.
And white korma.
It's a white korma.
Right. Very interesting. What about the mincemeat preparations?
Yeah, there was this barre ka keema that wasn't. The keema was like little pieces of meat. They were little. They weren't so finely.
Rough mincemeat.
Rough mincemeat. And it was the keema was that, and you could put green chilies. So it was keema with hari mirch. But these were like little pieces of, yeah.
Correct. And was it made like with a lot of masala?
Yes, with all the masala.
But I believe that it was not too much of
No,
water.
but not pisawa, not grounded masala. We used to put khada masala. It was all khada masala.
That's one of the hallmarks of Rampur cuisine.
Yeah,
That,
the khada masala.
Rampuri stew that is particularly different from the other stews that we.
Yeah, again, Rampur stew is all the masalas and the onions and all is khada masala. You put the onions, you cook with the meat, or usually with meat, and you put the red chilies, you put lasan, adrak, and it all khada masala. And then it is cooked, and it's very nice. And it's because they use so much onion. I won't say it's sweetish, but it is a little, with a lot of onions, it becomes a bit sweet. Sweetish in flavor. It's not like a korma. Yeah, so it's very interesting. Yeah, it's taste different.
We also had something for the vegetarians, the dals, etc.
Dal shahi, yeah, is this urad ki dal made in milk with red chilies, adrak, and it's called Shah Pasand dal. And it is dry.
It's a dry.
It's a dry dal. It's not a liquid dal.
Okay.
It's dry.
And what about things like, like Rampur has a very different tradition of khichdi.
Yeah, that is, and especially maash ki khichdi.
Maash ki khichdi, that is urad dal khichdi.
Yeah, that is, the dal is twice the amount of the rice. And the thing that is most important, that it has to be eaten immediately. Once the dum goes, people just don't enjoy it. They won't eat it. So it has to be cooked. It has to be served immediately. And it is served with asli ghee and brown onion. And in Rampur, they like to eat it for some reason with gopi gosht.
Right.
So that's a tradition.
And it's absolutely boiled khichdi.
Yeah, khichdi. Yeah.
What was generally the rice that was used? Do you just ordinary rice
Yeah, the basmati, whatever was available, yeah.
at that time?
The rice, this was not fine dining, but this was an everyday, everyone, it's a Rampur day. But it wasn't like served in banquets or something. This was a
Every day.
everyday recipe.
Your father, I believe, and grandfather.
No, I always ate it. But it wasn't fine dining. In water, we would put this, like an achar. It had turnips, carrots, and muri. And we leave it in a jar and put lasan and mustard seed. And this would be there for about 6 months, 3 months or to 6 months. It had to be kept in the sun for a while. And then, so it was a water-based achar. So it didn't last long. So it was put, not too much was put at one time. And this was eaten with the khichdi. People enjoyed eating this pani ka achar.
Pani ka achar. Even today you have.
Yeah, everyone.
It's a daily dish kind of a thing.
And it's interesting. It's very tasty.
Yes, it is. And I don't think you have Kali urad ki khichdi anywhere else.
No.
Except Rampur.
In Rampur. At least Rampur is known for it.
Right. Yeah. Another dish that I believe your father was very fond of was aloo gosht.
That, yes, no meal was. Again, it was a korma. It was a kalia because you put haldi. And again, meat and with alus. In Lucknow, I think they fry the... Yeah, we don't fry the alus. So our aloo gosht is again.
And it was lighter? It was like a light...
No. No, it had the same masala. It wasn't light. Okay. Some people like it with a little more gravy, or you can reduce the gravy. I prefer it as with a little more gravy, and to eat it with naan or something. So in Rampur, we have these barki parathas. So this is like in Lucknow, you have shirmars, in Delhi, you have bakar khani. Ours were these flaky parathas, and they dipped in shira. Okay. Yeah, so it was very interesting. I really enjoyed eating that. So these were flaky parathas, dipped in a bit of shira.
And it was sweet, and what did you eat it with?
No, you eat bakar khani and you eat shirma. You could eat it with kebabs, not with the kormas and all, but with kebabs and all, it tasted good.
So during Muharram, you also have this preparation called Khichda.
Yeah.
So can you say something about the Rampuri Khichda?
Again, a very lengthy cooking process. You have to first cook all the 4 dals, chane ki dal, masoor ki dal, maash ki dal, and urad ki dal. These were all cooked in one patili with masala. In another patili, again, chunks of meat were cooked. Then in another patili, they would cook the jaw and a bit of chawal that was cooked separately. When all this was ready, all this preparation was cooked together with the dal. So it would take very long, but it's very tasty. And usually with Khichda, you could eat it on its own because it had barley, it had rice. It was like a complete meal. While in Hyderabad, they do it a little different. Give and take is the same recipe, but they stir the meat till it becomes like a paste.
Right.
They keep stirring it, and so even the dal gets stirred. While in Khichda you can see the meat and you can feel this is all cooked together. That's the difference between Halim. Then on top of this, on top of the Khichda, You put hara dhania, you put brown piyaz, you can sprinkle green chilies, and you can even add a bit of lemon.
So now let's come to what you call the nursery foods.
Yeah, what we were given was,
Yes.
and those dishes, there was we ate brown stew, iris stew, pish pash. It was like, it was our version of chicken korma, chicken rice.
Chicken and rice together, mixed
Together.
together.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was cooked in milk, no masalas and all. This was European style. So the pish pash. Then we had cockroach. So those were like uh, like a minced thing in pancakes.
Okay.
And then they were fried. It was crumbed and fried. And they were called cockroach. Then, of course, fried fish. Then all the bakes we were given. And
The cutlets?
the cutlets, again with the crumbs. Then we were given chops. And for breakfast, which was very difficult to eat, was kidney on toast and liver on toast. Yeah, that was our. And the eggs were cooked in the ramki dishes. And for tea, of course, we'd get to eat scones. And a very interesting thing, which was chicken sandwiches, egg sandwiches, and all. But they made a very nice tomato paste sandwiches. That was my favorite, were those tomato paste sandwiches. Then the desserts are the usual custard, bread pudding, jelly, and jelly with fruit and all. But what was very interesting was we had these caramelized baskets in the shape of a basket, which were filled with fruit salad. Yeah, it was, and we were individually given a basket. It was fun. It was this caramelized sugar basket and full of this fruit cream.
So were the Rampur Khansamas trained in these cuisines? How did they?
Yeah, at least our nursery food must have been cooked in the main kitchen, but they didn't have those specialized cooks were different. This probably was cooked for
Just the children.
No, and they did have, of course, a lot of European where the cooks had gone to France to learn. So we did have a whole European section even.
Angrezi kitchen.
Angrezi kitchen, yes.
Which just cooked English
Yes, all
dishes.
Europe.
So if we talk of the Khansamas, like you saw a number of Khansamas who were looking after the kitchens.
Yeah, and the Khan Samas we didn't get, but we had a Munsarim. That was a person who was in charge of, he was the major domo. He did no work, he just went around ordering everyone, strutting around. And his job was that when the food was ready, he would keep checking. Then 15 minutes before when it was put in a dish, he had to taste it, and then he would seal it.
Okay.
15 minutes before it was served. Then the food was sealed. Then he was responsible. Then when it came to the table, my grandfather or father would at random say, I want to eat this. So he would break the seal, he'd eat it, taste it. He was our official taster. And then the ruler would eat it. So his job was just to boss all the staff. And everyone was very scared of him because he held an important position.
Correct.
And somehow, interesting, when I was watching Downton Abbey,
Oh, yes.
it reminded me some. Actually, the things did happen like that. We didn't go into the kitchen, but it did. Everyone had a role to play, and there was someone senior who overlooked everyone. So yeah,
As you were saying, there were about 100 cooks.
or more even.
Or more.
And then the masala cheese. And as I said, because they didn't want the recipes to be repeated, everyone had their own job to do. So
So they didn't know how it would come
come
together.
together. Nobody saw the final.
Only the main cook
Yeah.
would bring everything
They
together.
were that
and-
secretive.
Oh, and which is one of the reasons why we lost these.
Yeah, obviously. But as soon as these cooks started dying, in fact, one of our cooks, even the Saudi prince, the rice cook, Heather Mia, went to Saudi Arabia for some years. Our food was very, very expensive. I remember just an ordinary kebab is about a dish that big. In those days, the 70s, cost about 100 rupees. Yes, I don't know what they put, but they would charge us 100 rupees.
Is to make one dish.
One cup, yeah.
Okay.
And so a couple of rulers did borrow our cooks. But after 3 months, they returned them. They said, we can't put up with the idiosyncrasies. They're very eccentric. And the meal is very expensive. So not that our rulers didn't know that these dishes were, that they didn't use all the ingredients. I guess they did steal a bit. But because they were, they enjoyed the craftsmanship so much that they ignored the fact that that it was stolen. And we were, I think, aware. So the cooks, when they went to these riyasat, they took their own bartans. All the patilis were thick and heavy because all this food used to take hours to cook. So if you didn't have these utensils, the food would get burnt
Okay.
naturally. So they were very fussy. Everything had to be in a certain manner.
So you spoke about Heather. He only cooked rice
Only rice.
and all the preparations of
And no, he was not the only one. He also cooked rice, but there was specialists for the for the sweet rice, for the savory. You know, every guy was different. But Heather eventually learned a bit of everything, so he could go abroad.
and he could cook
Yeah.
for others.
He
In
could.
the same way you spoke about London, who
No, he was only dessert.
only desserts, right? So there was a lot of specialization,
Not a special.
and then everybody had their own role to play.
All they had.
And the kitchens at Khasbagh, of course, now we don't have those kitchens anymore.
No, but first we used to live in the Kila.
First was the Qila.
Then,
Yeah, the kitchen in the
then
Qila.
Khasbagh was after the partition. And then they lived. So then there were these huge kitchens. And everything was managed. There was a whole household department. So it wasn't just like an ordinary kitchen. It was a whole department running this cuisine that was prepared. It was a whole department managing it.
So I am assuming that there was a pantry and there were stores and like
Of course.
block of the kitchen
Yeah.
and everything. And of course, the women were not going into the
No, not at all.
right.
Because firstly, women observe parda, and this was all done by male chef.
all the chef,
All the chefs were male.
even the day-to-day cooking was done by the male chefs. Right.